Waterloo, first of all, we want to welcome you to the State Conduct of Meetings contest, and we want to congratulate you on advancing to this level and wish you luck today. A couple procedural things before we get started. Just wanted to make sure, can everybody see the clock? Okay, you won't have any time warnings at all. You've got the clock in front of you. All right. In front of you are your cards, and then there's small little pads of paper. You are allowed to write on your cards. You're allowed to write on those papers. Madam Chairperson, you have extra paper at your podium. Feel free to use whatever you want to write on during the meeting, okay? At the end of the meeting, you cannot take any of the stuff you've written out of here, but feel free to write whatever you need to during the meeting, okay? All right, we're going to give you 1 minute to start to plan your meeting, looking over your card, and then after that 1 minute, Madam Chair, you may start the meeting whenever you want. So, okay, let's begin. All right, Madam Chair, you can start the meeting whenever you'd like.
The meeting room will come to order. We are now holding a meeting of the Waterloo FFA chapter. Madam Vice President, are all officers at their stations?
I shall call the roll of officers, determine if they are at the stations, and will report back to you, Madam President. The Sentinel.
Station by the door.
Your duties there.
Through this door pass many friends of the FFA. It is my duty to see that the door is open to our friends at all times and that they are welcome. I care for the meeting room and paraphernalia. I strive to keep the room comfortable and assist the President in maintaining order.
The reporter.
The reporter is stationed by the flag.
Why by the flag?
As the flag covers the United States of America, so I strive to inform the people in order that every man, woman, and child may know that the FFA is a national organization that reaches from the state of Alaska to the Virgin Islands and from the state of Maine to Hawaii.
The treasurer.
Stationed at the Emblem of Washington.
Your duties there.
I keep a record of receipts and disbursements to his Washington Company's farm accounts, carefully and accurately. I encourage thrift among the members and strive to build our financial standing through savings and investments. George Washington was better able to serve his country because he was financially independent.
The secretary.
Stationed by the ear of corn.
Your duties there.
I keep an accurate record of all meetings and correspond with other secretaries wherever corn is grown and FFA members meet.
The advisor.
Here by the owl.
Why by the owl?
The owl is a time-honored emblem of knowledge and wisdom. Being older than the rest of you, I am asked to advise you from time to time as the need arises. I hope that my advice is always based on true knowledge and ripened with wisdom. Madam Vice President, why do you keep a plow at your station?
The plow is the symbol of labor and tillage of the soil. Without labor, neither knowledge nor wisdom can accomplish much. My duties require me to assist at all times in directing the works of our organization. I preside over meetings in the absence of our president, whose place is beneath the rising sun.
Why is the President so stationed?
The rising sun is the token of a new era in agriculture. If we will follow the leadership of our president, we shall be led out of the darkness of selfishness and into the glorious sunlight of brotherhood and cooperation. Madam President, all officers are at their stations.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. The Secretary will call the roll of members.
There are 7 members and numerous guests present, Madam President.
Thank you. FFA members, why are we here?
To practice brotherhood, honor agricultural opportunities and responsibilities, and develop those qualities of leadership which an FFA member should possess.
May we accomplish our purposes. I now declare this meeting of the Waterloo FFA chapter Duly opened for the transaction of business or attention to any matters which may properly be presented. Is there any new business?
Madam President.
Madam Secretary?
I move that the Waterloo FFA chapter sponsor a family farm to fork dinner for FFA members and their families this fall.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Waterloo FFA chapter sponsors a family farm to fork dinner for all FFA members and their families this fall. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires a simple majority vote to pass. Madam Secretary, you have first rights to discuss.
Fellow officers, please join me in voting for this motion. We are not very busy this fall, and this would be a great way that we can get our chapter involved and get more sponsors for our other banquets as well. Again, fellow officers, please vote for this motion.
Madam President.
Madam Sentinel?
Fellow members, join with me and support this motion. After our upcoming banquet, we are going to be in debt, and we will need more money. We will need money, and this will be a great way to fundraise. We will be in much need for money, so join with me and vote for this motion.
Madam President.
Madam Reporter?
Fellow officers, I think this is a great idea. This would be a great way to bring our families and the community much closer. As the reporter, I could post this on our social media account so we have great attendance. For these reasons, pass this motion.
Madam President.
Mr. Advisor?
Fellow officers, as the advisor, I personally love this motion. I think this would be a great way for us to showcase the things that we have accomplished this year and to invite our new members into our FFA chapter this upcoming fall. For these reasons, fellow officers, I encourage you to vote in favor for this motion.
Madam President.
Madam Vice President?
Fellow members, I cannot possibly support this motion. As you all know, many of our members are very busy during fall with the CDEs that are going on in fall and with helping on the farms. Because of this, we would have a very low turnout, so there would not be much of a use to sponsor it if many of our members cannot even be there. For these reasons, I urge you to fail this motion.
Madam President.
Madam Treasurer?
Fellow members, please help me in failing this motion. As you all know, we had a family farm to fork dinner earlier this year. It was not very successful as we made no money from it and lost some of our money from having to fund it. This also means that we wouldn't get much out of it for the families. For these reasons, please vote down on this motion.
Madam President.
Madam Vice President?
I move to hold a 5-minute recess.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we hold a 5-minute recess. Are there any amendments? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote on this recess. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
No.
Motion fails. We will now resume discussion on the main motion.
Madam President.
Madam Sentinel?
I move to refer this to a committee of 5 appointed by the President. The President appoints the chair, and they shall report back to us at the next regular scheduled meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we refer this matter to a committee of 5 appointed by the President. The President appoints the chair, and they shall report back to us at our next regularly scheduled meeting. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires a simple majority vote to pass. Madam Sentinel, you have first rights to discuss.
Fellow members, join with me and support this referral. We are not qualified for this motion. There has been lots of mixed talks on this motion. By getting more ideas and opinions by sending this to a committee would allow us to adopt this motion. So join with me and support this referral.
Madam President.
Madam Reporter?
Fellow officers, please pass this referral. Referring this to a committee would take this motion off our plate because we have a jam-packed agenda tonight. This would also give us time to go over the various other more important motions we have to discuss tonight. For these reasons, pass this referral.
Madam President.
Madam Secretary?
Fellow officers, please join me in striking down this referral. We do not have many qualified people or people in general that we could form a committee for this motion. We have many other committees going on right now, and it would not be possible. Again, fellow officers, please vote down on this referral.
Madam President.
Madam Vice President?
Fellow officers, I urge you to fail this referral. As you all know, we were voted in as officers by our members for a reason, to take business and complete it for them so that they can take care of the more fun affairs. This is a very simple motion, so we should be able to take this off the plate of our members and deal with this now. We do not waste our members' time with this motion when we could take care of it. For these reasons, I urge you to fail this referral.
Madam President.
Madam Treasurer?
Fellow members, I cannot possibly support this referral. As you all know, our next meeting is going to be jam-packed with a lot of different events, as it is our end-of-the-year meeting. This means we will not be able to get the full amount of talk about this from the committee. We will not be able to get their full report in the time we have allotted for committee reports at the next meeting. Additionally, this would also, we do not have the people necessary as we have a banquet committee right now. For these reasons, please vote down on this motion.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote on this referral. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
No.
Division.
A division has been called. We will now participate in a rising vote over this referral. All in favor, please rise. Thank you. All opposed, please rise. Thank you. With 2 in the affirmative and 4 against, this referral fails. We will now resume discussion on the main motion.
Madam President,
Madam Treasurer,
I move to amend this motion by inserting with 4-H so that the motion reads that the Waterloo FFA sponsor family farm to fork dinner for FFA members and their families this fall with the 4-H.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded that we amend this motion by inserting with the 4-H so that if adopted, the main motion would now read that the Waterloo FFA chapter sponsors a family farm to fork dinner for FFA members and their families this fall with the 4-H. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires a simple majority vote to pass. Madam Treasurer, you have first rights to discuss.
Fellow members, I made this motion so that we could, as our opening ceremony state, practice brotherhood with the 4-H. The 4-H is a similar organization to the FFA, so this will be a great way for our members to become friends with members of 4-H, as well as many of our members are members of 4-H. For these reasons, please vote in favor of this motion.
Madam President.
Mr. Advisor,
Fellow officers, I encourage you to vote against this motion. As many of you know, from our last pork chop dinner, our cafeteria was extremely full with just our FFA members and their families. If we were to bring in the 4-H, we need to find a new area to host this event that we currently do not have. For this reason, fellow officers, I encourage you to vote against this motion.
Madam President.
Madam Vice President,
Fellow officers, I can simply not support this amendment. As you all know, many of our 4-H members are very busy during the fall season because of their planning for Harvest Night that's coming up in the fall. Because of this, they will not be able to come join us. As well as this, many of our members are in 4-H as well as FFA, so that many of them, when you choose who they come as, many of them might choose 4-H and not come with the FFA. For these reasons, I urge you to vote down on this amendment.
Madam President.
Madam Sentinel,
Fellow members, join with me and vote upon this amendment. The surrounding schools around us don't have FFA, which means that the 4-H members won't be able to experience what it's like to be an FFA. This would be a great way to bring our communities together and allow the 4-H members to experience what it's like to be an FFA. So join with me and vote for this amendment.
Madam President.
Madam Secretary,
Fellow officers, join me in striking down this amendment. We have no time to plan and talk with the 4-H as they are busy in the fall and so are we, dealing with the green hands and planning for the upcoming school year and FFA year. As well as 4-H will not want to help with FFA if they're not getting anything from it. Again, fellow officers, please vote down on this amendment.
Madam President.
Madam Reporter,
Fellow officers, please vote up on this amendment. This would be an awesome way to get the 4-H involved in FFA because both of the committees go hand in hand. This would also be living out the first line in the FFA creed. I believe in the future of agriculture. By having the 4-H help us out with this event. For these reasons, pass this amendment.
is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote on this amendment. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
No.
Motion fails. We will now resume discussion on the main motion.
Madam President,
Mr. Advisor,
fellow officers, I am using my last right to debate this motion to tell you to vote in favor for it. As many of you know, we have lost many family farms in our surrounding area, and I think this would be a great way to bring awareness to us losing these farms, and be a great way to show our members why they and their families should help and support our local family farmers. For this reason, fellow officers, I encourage you to vote in favor for this motion.
Madam President,
Madam Vice President,
fellow officers, I cannot possibly support this motion. Coming up, we will not have the resources for this because of our banquet coming up and for the state coming up for everyone to go to state. So we will not have the money to fundraise this or have the money available to help with this. We will also not have the members available. For these reasons, I urge you to vote down on this motion.
is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote on this motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
No.
Motion passes. Madam Secretary, do you have a record of any further business which should now be transacted?
I have none, Madam President.
Does any member know of any new or unfinished business which should properly come before this meeting? We are about to adjourn this meeting of the Waterloo FFA chapter. As we mingle with others, let us be diligent in labor, just in our dealings, courteous to everyone, and above all, honest and fair in the game of life. Fellow members and guests, join me in a salute to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I now declare this meeting adjourned.
Okay, Waterloo, we're going to go ahead and get started with your oral questions, okay? Just remember that these are individualized questions, so you and you alone are going to be answering them, okay? We're going to start with your vice president, whose required motion was the recess, all right? In the form that you presented this motion during your meeting, is the motion to take a recess debatable or amendable?
It is amendable but not debatable.
All right. Are there any circumstances in which the recess is debatable?
When it is presented as a main motion,
Thank you. For the reporter, division of the assembly, okay? As a member, if you call for a division of the assembly, you are requiring the chairman to do what?
Call for a rising vote.
Okay? Under what circumstances can your chairperson deny your request to call for a division?
When it is obvious that a side has won.
Okay? All right, secretary, you do not have a required motion, but your question would be, in a business meeting, what are minutes?
The amount of time a meeting takes.
Okay? And you are responsible for managing that. What happens to that after the meeting?
Can you repeat the question?
You're responsible for managing the minutes. What happens to them after the meeting?
It is given to the president and then presented at the next meeting.
Okay? Treasurer, for the amendment. What's the difference between a first and a second degree amendment?
A first degree amendment is made on top of the main motion. A second degree amendment is made on top of a first degree amendment.
If you have a main motion, a first degree amendment, and a second degree amendment pending all at the same time, what order are these motions voted upon?
First the second degree amendment, then the first degree amendment, and then the main motion.
Okay? For your sentinel, refer to a committee. When making this motion, you can't simply state, I refer this to a committee. You have to provide additional details in the motion. Give me an example of details you could provide in that motion.
I move to refer this to a committee of 5 appointed by the president. The president shall report back to us at the next regular scheduled meeting.
What is a standing committee?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay? And for the student advisor, your team demonstrated an amendment and a referral. What is the motion immediately above these two motions in the order of precedence?
Postpone indefinitely.
And what is the motion immediately below these two motions in the order of precedence?
The main motion.
Okay. And for the president, when does the chairperson vote?
When there is a tie.
Is there any other time?
No.
And can you as chairperson debate a motion?
If the chairperson steps down from their role.
Okay. All right, nice job, Waterloo. If you want to go ahead and leave your paperwork at your stations, just leave everything there. You may go.